So welcome in. The scoreboard disappeared. There it is. So welcome into game number 6. This is CTL week number 1 between Guns N' Roaches and the King's Men. The map is GSL Metropolis, and spawning over here in the top right position. It's almost more just right, but you get the idea. I didn't change his race icon. Well, there we go. Beautiful. Now we're good to go. So spawning over here in the right position in the orange color, playing for the King's Men. His team's 3-2. Can he bring back the series for his team? It is KSO. And spawning across from him in the left-hand position in the green color, not the traditional teal, but he is still playing for Guns N' Roaches. It is RockinAnakin. What Anakin is rocking to, we will probably never find out, unfortunately. Now, this is a gold level matchup, and the Terran music is really loud right now for some reason in the background. So we have a DBZ on Metropolis, and the rule about this map, if the game will either be under 15 minutes or over 40. There's not usually much of a middle ground. Terrans will tend to prefer 2-base timings on this map because your third is really tough to hold on to. It's down in this area, and there's 3 attack paths into it, and all in all, the area into it is really open and hard to defend even with a nice siege tank line. Meanwhile, Zerg players will tend to take that quick third, and they can take... But basically the rule for Terran, if you can take your third base, you can take your entire bottom half of the map, and the Zerg will also take their bottom half of the map. And then the game will go into super, super late game, and we'll see something like we did last night between, it was Suho Shin and Marine King in the GSL. And you get this 40-minute game, and all of a sudden the Terrans take the Battlecruiser Raven. And it's really exciting to watch, and it can be really fun games. But it takes a lot to get there. Again, kind of 3-base versus 2-base is what you'll tend to see, and the Zerg definitely has an advantage at that point. The Scout SCV getting in here for RockinAnakin, and he will see all the timings of his opponent. He sees the gas geysers, sees the pool. I believe he saw the expansion. We can double check just to make sure, and he has. Meanwhile, KSO unfortunately locked out of his opponent's base for the time being. If we look at what he's been able to see, he was able to peek up in here and see that second barracks, and RockinAnakin going to go for a really weird wall in. This depot actually a little bit too far back for where you want it. I think he'll actually need another 2 to completely wall in, as we do see the scout drone going up. But it looks like RockinAnakin has some early aggression on his mind. He's got an early gas geyser, 2 quick barracks, and let's see what he has in mind. There's a factory as well. This could be something like a 1-base siege tank push. It could be for Banshees later on, although there's no second geyser. I'm not entirely sure. It does look like he wants to expand as well, getting this down here. So this could just be a really, really safe expansion build. We see KSO not looking to put on much aggression quickly either. He's going up to 2 queens. And we have seen 4 queen and 6 queen builds be very popular, especially on this map. You can spread creep forever with 6 queens. And there's a nice spine crawler up the front just to make sure there's no Hellions. It looks like this Hellion Marine is my diagnosis. And again, it does look like he messed up on that wall. I think, yeah, you can walk past here with Zerglings or Marines. And RockinAnakin going to put on a little bit of pressure here. There's 7 Marines and 2 SCVs. If you can get bunkers up in the right position, this will do a lot of damage. But there's already a spine crawler on the way to the front, so this probably won't do anything. The most he can do is maybe pick off an Overlord in the middle of the map or something like that. I like the Overlord spread from KSO. He's getting these into good positions for later in the game. And RockinAnakin is going to go for pressure. There's no way this works, is there? I mean, with the spine crawler at the front, there's only 7 Marines here. Any bunker he will basically be in range of that spine. Bonk. Bonk. He's going to go in. This will force out a couple of units, but he's going to lose quite a bit to the Spine Crawler. Nice start stepping around by RockinAnakin. Again, this is a gold level game, if you're unaware. Now he's starting to target down some drones, but this is going to be, yeah, really cleaned up. He doesn't even lose the Spine. How many workers did he get? One. No, he didn't even get one. He had one earlier. And the 7-kill Spine Crawler looking really heroic, and now KSO has completely overmade Zergling, so he's going to go for a counterattack. RockinAnakin back in his home base. He's got a bunker with 3 Marines. He's got a couple of extra Marines and a Hellion. And I think if he just ran cross-map and started a Baneling nest, he might be able to win the game right away with KSO. That's a lot of sacrifice at the beginning of the game by the Terran player. Yeah, 400 resources to 50, and KSO in a pretty nice position right now. I'm not sure that pressure would do damage had KSO not been on top of pulling drones, had he not built the Spine Crawler. If either one of those conditions is met, that does quite a bit of damage, but KSO really on top of his defense, able to even save the Spine Crawler. Zergling's doing a little bit of a run by here. They're not able to accomplish much beyond getting scouting information, but that's really important, being able to see there's no expansion going down quite yet. You see he made the command center back up in his base, and he will float that down now. Lair is nearly finished for KSO, and he's got a lot of minerals, got a lot of Zerglings. There's a nicely timed scan by RockinAnakin, and you'll see the Roach Warren going down. And I'm curious about what KSO is doing. He's banking a lot of resources. There's a Spire as well, and 2 more Extractors. So we will see those mutas. I think the Roach Warren might be more defensive, although you don't need those to counter any Terran units. Maybe he just likes roaches. I'm not going to judge. This Overlord has been spotted. It looks like it might be taken down pretty quickly, and that's actually a nice little catch for RockinAnakin. Any little bit of damage that he can do to get himself back into the game is valuable. Right now he's behind in tech. He's thrown away a couple of units. He's probably behind in workers. Yeah, 36 to 28. That's not the worst advantage, because KSO has really been producing units. He's even following up by producing more roaches, with 4 more on the way. He's getting another evolution chamber, which will come up to 2 of them, and we'll start seeing those upgrades, and that'll really give us an indication what units he wants to stick with. If we see those melee upgrades, he'll stick with the Zerglings. There's the Glial Reconstitution, and it looks like roaches are actually going to be... No, never mind. There's a melee. This is a problem for earlier Zerg players. You can't have all your upgrades. You want to either focus on your melee upgrades or your ranged upgrades, and kind of stick with units that will support those. Later in the game, you can do a massive switch and catch your opponent off guard, but for the time being, that's not going to be the most useful thing for a Zerg player to do. I would love to see him stick with the melee upgrades and just go Ling Bane Ling Muta. Muta is very effective on this map. I think he believes those roaches will just give him a lot more power as he takes his 3rd base, his army. And he'll be pretty safe against any Terran move out. I don't think RockinAnakin needs to move out right now. He's been macroed pretty well, and we see he's even caught up a little bit in supply. It looks like he'll hit at about the same time Combat Shield is done. Probably a little bit before that, so this might wind up being kind of an anti-timing for him. But he's got units to kind of counter everything that he's seen. There aren't any mutas out yet, but in come the roaches. So the 2 armies might just pass in the night. KSO does kind of see that move out. He might have a very bizarre game on our hands. Okay, now KSO spotted that. He's pulling back his roaches. It looks like he'll go for a little bit of a flank here, and this army caught entirely off guard. Units not firing at the right things at all. Banelings don't have roll yet, which means that they've had trouble connecting with there they do, and KSO now with a gigantic lead in this game, 90 supply, 63, and he's going on the attack. His Baneling roll actually just finished, which means that he probably could have been a little more patient with that and traded a little more favorably. But now he's going to push to the front. He's got 5 Banelings. These siege tanks do have siege mode though, so that might be able to help hold for Anakin. He doesn't have a complete wall in, which means that the Zerglings can kind of just run in and surround these siege tanks, and that would be anticlimactic, but it might happen. More and more units being rallied across by KSO. Economically, he's actually even with the Terran player, 40 to 40, but the army supply advantage is gigantic. To make it work though. Now though, I skipped a word and emphasized the wrong one. But if you look, army supply 57 to 26, he does pick up that Overlord. But now in comes KSO. He needs to do damage here. The tank's actually caught in siege. Banelings rolling in, they detonate on top of one of the Zerglings. These roaches here providing a lot of extra damage on top of these siege tanks. That's a nice move command in there to get on top of the siege tanks. All the army is gone for RockinAnakin except the siege tank up on the high ground. It's actually doing quite a bit of damage. He needs to do some economic damage now, though, to get himself back in that game. He'll pick off a couple of workers, not too many. He's forcing a lot of boss mining time here, as the SCVs and the mules have to pull back into the main. But now, what can RockinAnakin do? 8 Mutalisks on the way, and again, KSO only producing units behind this. I feel like if he just sat back and macroed, he would be in an unstoppable position. But instead, these units, he really wants to go for the kill quickly here. Anakin forced to sit up in his main, these roaches. Going to sit back, he'll take down these destructible rocks, which could be important later. Out come the bio units from RockinAnakin, maybe hoping that he's doing exactly this. But no, that's really nice that KSO is paying attention. He'll pick off a couple more Marines for free. But now the siege count from RockinAnakin is back up to 3. He's on 2 factories, a whole bunch of barracks. He's overqueued Marauders, but that's not a big deal. And those destructible rocks are gone. And now I would love to see him pull back and just rely on these Mutalisks that he has. He's got 8 of them so far for the rest of his harassment. He can't afford to lose the rest of this army. Picks off another Marine. This is really just a bait. He brings them back into siege tank fire. He'll pick off a lot more of these Marines. He'll get that Marauder as well, but he loses the rest of his army. Okay, so still with a 30 supply lead. He's making 6 more Mutalisks back behind it. He's getting his 2-2 upgrades for his melee units, excuse me. But again, he doesn't have enough drones. Even just one more wave. He's at 49 now to 35, but he's only killed 9 workers total. He saw the 3rd command center, so he should be aware of that. Now, he's regathering over here on the island. Again, the islands on the GSL version are blocked by neutral creep tumors, which I love the idea of a neutral creep tumor to block rather than destructible rocks, which is what you'll see if you play the old ladder version. This is TSL 4 version, I suppose, because they did remove a lot of the little doodads on the map to try and improve frame rate issues for people. If you wanted a little bit more background on the map. Anyway, the Mutalisks count up to 11 now. He's starting a hive now, as well as ventral sacks and pneumatized terror pace for his overlords. And we may see something like roach drops or baneling bombs. It's pretty exciting. 3rd command center moving down now for RockinAnakin. He's probably silently thanking KSO now for removing those destructible rocks for him. But now, Anakin moving out on the map. He does have 3 siege tanks, so this is a pretty powerful looking army. And the unit count now starting to fall off a little bit for KSO, making 6 more mutas as well as more roaches. But again, I just worry about KSO's economy. He has a really powerful army, but economically he's almost even with the Terran player. Now he's taking a 4th base and getting these overlords in here to scout. Looks like he might just lose them. This is kind of an awkward situation now. RockinAnakin has found them out. He'll lose one of the overlords and the next one. And that is a really weird rally quick that just cost him 3 overlords. Was he even? No, he didn't spot the 3rd base, so not worth it in any way. Now making some baneling, seeing that his opponent's out in the middle of the map, and this is a pretty decent ground army, although I don't think it counters the Terran ground army. This is a nice forward siege for Anakin, and he's doing really well with the army positioning. But the Mutalisks count getting a little bit. He's up to 17, which means he can start 2-shotting with missile turrets. Instead he's going to come over here, he'll start picking off add-ons, he can maybe grab a barracks, stemming back in, trying to deal with the mutas. 2 reactors gone, and he'll get out safely without losing a single Mutalisk. Nice harassment so far by KSO, that'll limit the protection. He's even going to get in here, now trying to take down the tech lab. There isn't really anything important in the Tech 5 except that it limits the Marauder production, which means that he could set himself up for kind of a road transition. Okay, so moving through the middle of the map. Look at this creep spread, by the way. All the way through the center of the map now. And before long, that'll be on top of our Terran player. How many queens has he made? He's made 4. 4 is a good number. Not a great number on 4 bases, however. And there's no macro hatch to be seen. Again, he doesn't quite have the economy to support that. He's on 48 drones to 45 SCVs. And RockinAnakin doing fantastic with his economy. And KSO just kind of letting him back in the game. He had a huge lead if he just sits back in macros. Instead, he's chosen to really his lead on tech. He has that greater spire on the way, and we'll see Broodlords before long. There's 3/3 upgrades as well. Infestation pit's done, so we can transfer into that if he ever wants to. Sensor tower up now for RockinAnakin in a good spot, which means that he can see these Mutalisks before they start attacking him. Not that he's responding horribly well to that. His missile turrets are gone, and he'll be able to start working away on the mineral line if he wants to. And now some of the Marines back to respond, going to be forced to fly toward the natural, which is where there aren't any Marines, and you'll be able to start targeting down a lot of these SCVs as we bring out the workers killed, 22, 23 now, and more harassment being done by KSO, and giving himself an economic lead in spite of himself, I would say. Now getting in here, he'll be able to start picking off a couple more workers, and he'll be able to fly away from these Marines. There's a lot of space back here behind the third. Not quite utilizing that to the fullest. He's losing a lot of mutas here, though, down to just 7 now. If my eyeball test is correct. And if we look, he actually lost his supply lead during that. But back behind this, 7 corruptors on the way. Greater Spire is completed, 15 roaches as well. And army supply again. I keep hitting that, but I don't mean to. It's this one that I want. Army supply, even worker supply, finally a decent lead for KSO. We look 56 drones to 31 SCVs. And we're finally getting toward that really scary late game zerg. RockinAnakin kind of low on tech, I would say. His upgrades are falling pretty far behind. He's still on 1-1 compared to the nearly 3-3 of his opponent. And this is a scary army sitting in the middle of the map. Those corruptors now are finished, and we'll probably see them morph into Broodlords before long. And I think that'll be the killing blow. Anakin has not prepared for that. He switched into Thors to try and build mass muta, but his opponent's one step beyond that. He needs to start getting out Vikings, getting his ship weapons to upgrade, that sort of thing, to try and deal with him. And now he's going to move out, and that's not what he wants to do at all. There's 7 Broodlords on the way. They're morphing back here, back in the battle, so he may be able to force an engagement before his opponent wants it, and KS knows that he's going to back off. But now he's going for a flank. He's going to try to get in behind some of these siege tanks. He'll start picking away some of those units. The Broodlords have nearly finished up, but I think the ground army might just be enough here. Roaches now getting in. They don't have any attack upgrades, but they do have one attack upgrade. Excuse me. Ultralisk Cavern on the way as well as 24 more roaches to try and deal with this. He's trading pretty well, but now the Broodlord's getting in here. There's not a huge number of Marines left to help deal with this. The Broodlord's trying to kite away. He may lose a couple of these. Ooh, a couple big shots. One does go down there. And really nicely done by RockinAnakin. I think KSO should have waited for the Broodlord to mark. I don't think it's as big a deal. Now he's got this high ground. The medevac trying to provide vision. He's still got 3 Broodlords left. And incoming reinforcement roaches to be able to clean up this army fairly easily. The siege tank's still caught back in siege mode for no particular reason. Even the Mutalisks coming in to help out. They take a nice volley from the Thor, but a couple of them stay alive. Now picking up the rest of his medevacs. And KSO has secured himself a gigantic lead. He's been reproducing 12 more roaches now. The siege tank still just kind of caught in the middle of the map. They're not going to do too much more damage. 163 supply to 787. And KSO moving across the map now. He's still got 3 Broodlords left for that siege. Probably waiting for rage of roaches. There's whatever G from RockinAnakin, and he leaves the game. I don't think he needed to do that. He's still got a pretty good army back here. If he reproduces a couple more siege tanks, I'd say a little bit early. A little bit overcommittal there from RockinAnakin. But GG, and we are tied up at 3 games apiece for the King's Men and for Guns and Roaches. And we'll head into the ace match to try and determine this. And can you ask for a better week 1 match? So the Platinum Ace match coming up, it's best of 3, and that'll determine the winner of our week 1 match. So please stay tuned for game number 7 coming up very shortly. My name is RockinAnakin. Thank you for watching my cast. I'm going to take a little bit longer of a break. My throat